you are listening to another edition of Blewetts Blitz, watching another edition of Blewetts Blitz. Another late night episode. I was actually supposed to go to work today, but called out. Vacation day. Didn't feel like going. So here we are. The streams are going to be kind of weird not going forward, but the next couple of weeks. I think next week I'm going to have to do it on Saturday night, like the day before the game. So it doesn't have a long shelf life. It's not like it has a long shelf life on Friday either. And then there's going to be some weeks, like the next couple of weeks, where it's going to be Saturday nights for 2 weeks in a row, I think. Or maybe a Saturday next week and then like 2 Sunday nights, like right after the game. And honestly, like I hate doing the streams right after the game. Like Sunday, Monday streams are brutal to me. Just because it's more hot takey. Like I would like to go back and actually watch before I comment on anything. So the ones on Saturday, Sunday, Monday are going to be like iffy. It's Tuesday. Okay, I can start watching some stuff, but yeah, we'll see. It is what it is. I got to get it out when I got to get it out, but I appreciate everybody being here. All the different times and stuff. I appreciate all the people who are commenting on the full reviews, getting some more subs there. So that is awesome. The short review, I know it's not going to have a long shelf life. It's going to be out tomorrow. I specifically highlight some of the good from the defense in that review. It's like a 20 minute review going over Jarvis Brownlee, Jermaine Johnson, and somebody else, Maui Noah. I go over Maui Noah as well. So say hello to some people. I hope I'm good. I think I'm good, right? I'm live. Yeah, here we are. I see no Eagle in the chat. I'm assuming that's because the Devils beat the Lightning the other day and he's depressed, but nonetheless. Billy SBC, if you watched the Steelers-Bengal game last night, maybe Alan Lazard could have made a difference to Rodgers in that game if the Jets play. Well, I think that I watched it like sparingly. I wasn't able to watch the full thing, but I think the defense not being as bad as it was would probably make it even bigger of an impact. But yeah, maybe Lazard could have, but it's not like the offense did bad last night, obviously, with Rodgers. But this game, before I even get into the chat, I'll let the chat fill up a little bit and some people get into here. But just reading some stats from this game, obviously the Jets lose, 13-11 to the Broncos. Some historically bad numbers from the offense, stealing some stats from Samini, some from Nania, some from Zach Rosenblatt, I believe, but just screenshotted some stuff on my phone from this game. Jets had 9 completions. They were sacked 9 times, which is absurd. They had 45 passing yards, but 55 yards lost on sacks. So that was -10 net passing yards for the Jets. The Jets' average time to pass, or the average time to sack in that game was 5.76 seconds. The league average this season for time to get sacked is 4.63. So you're holding the ball for an extra second to get sacked. Now, obviously, it skews a little bit with that first play, or that first sack where he kind of runs out of bounds. But if you watch the film review on that one, you can either obviously watch the full one if you subscribe for $3 a month, or you can go to Jake Asman's show, and I did a review of of some bad Justin Fields in that review. And if he keeps his eyes up there, he actually can hit Garrett Wilson streaking down the field. And I acknowledge in the review, it's easier said than done. But his eyes never pick up. He never finds Garrett Wilson, and it was potentially a touchdown, if not a big gain. Garrett Wilson calls for the ball. He's not targeted. But continuing with some more stats, and this is from our own Michael Nania. Jets had zero turnovers, 1+ takeaways, committed 2 or less penalties, and held the opponent to less than 250 yards. Since the Super Bowl era, teams were 62-0 when checking those 4 boxes. Again, no turnovers, 1 takeaway or more, 2 or less penalties, opponents having 250 yards. Teams were 62-0. That record is now 62-1. Nania also in that says that most of them were total blowouts. The average margin of victory in those 62 wins was plus 23.6. Plus 23.6 when you usually have those stats. That's the average. And the Jets lost by 2. Wild. Obviously, beyond wild. I think there's another one that I screenshotted somewhere. The Jets had 0 explosive plays on Sunday, which I believe is 20+ yards. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. 20+ yards is labeled an explosive. And the Jets had 0, and that's the first time since 2021 a team has not had 1 explosive play in a game. Okay. So start there with some stats, and I can kind of go into the film and get into the chat and stuff, but obviously brutal. Justin Fields took 9 sacks. Top of my head, obviously I went through them all in the review. 5 or 6 were his fault. The ones I could think of that were not were there's a Fashanu sack. There's another one where he got sacked on 3rd down. Nothing was really open. And then there was another sack where left side of the screen, nothing was open. I think it was like a corner concept. He gets back to the backside of the concept, and there's really nothing open there. Arian Smith kind of underneath. He can't really hit it. And then you have, I think, Reynolds on a backside dig. Could have hit that maybe if he floated it, but I'm not going to blame it on him. Those are the 3 that are undoubtedly not his fault, in my opinion. There might be another one. So let's say 5 or 6 sacks were just clearly on Justin Fields, not getting rid of the ball quickly, staring down open receivers, missing Garrett Wilson behind on a speed out once, missing Garrett Wilson on a speed out, being late another time where it's his first read, he's staring at him, just isn't rid of the ball, takes an extra hitch, throws it, and then that's the 3rd and 8 play at the end of the game. So that was terrible. But I think really on top of that, I don't think Justin Fields was the worst part of this game. I really do think it was Glenn. Dude is, I don't know how you have hope at this point, really, with him. With obviously, just the hope is, hey, he has more games left. He's a young coach, and hopefully he can rebound. But the way he talks to the media, can you stop comparing yourself to Hall of Fame coaches? 1, can you stop saying you're talking to Hall of Fame coaches? 2, when early in the offseason, he's like, I'm not Bill Parcells. It's like, okay, now you keep bringing up all these other coaches, and then, Brian Costello asked a perfectly reasonable question, like, hey, is Justin Fields going to be the starter or whatever exactly he asked? But that was the point of it. And Glenn comes back and fires back at him and says, what kind of question is that? Like, it's a perfectly reasonable question after you just had -10 passing yards to ask if he's going to be the starting quarterback next week. Like, don't fire back at the media. So he's making himself look like a jackass. And then on top of that, this is just the media stuff. Like today, he's comparing, well, actually not even today. 2 days ago, he's saying something about the Jets throwing it downfield versus man-to-man coverage. But he's like, oh, well, if he makes a mistake there, then you guys are going to get on his ass or whatever, or you guys are going to bitch about that, whatever exactly he said. And it's like, yeah, obviously, if he throws picks because he's throwing it down the field, we're going to bitch. But I'd rather them be aggressive and lose than just be overly conservative and lose. So, yeah, of course, if he throws picks, we're going to bitch about it. But at least try something vertically. And they took one deep shot to Arian Smith, and Justin Fields put it too far outside. And then on top of that, the clock management, go to Nani's Twitter. He put out the like a little chart of the 4th down decisions this year, and what was recommended analytically versus the actual Glenn's decision and the result, and all of them were really bad. This game, wasting a timeout on 4th and 1 with 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter to then just punt the ball. You obviously had the end of the half sequence, which was embarrassing. Like you're going for it on 4th and 1 just to then run the clock out because you didn't want the Broncos to get the ball back. Like, dude, you got to get 20 more yards to kick a field goal. And if not even a field goal at the last second, if you are going to run out the clock like a jackass, at least throw a Hail Mary. Like Justin Fields can throw a ball 60 yards, put a ball up and maybe get a PI. Maybe they catch the ball. Like it's happened. We saw it with Aaron Rodgers last year against the Bills, I believe. So that decision. And then on top of it, the punt, and again, maybe it's Banjo. Maybe Banjo's in over his head because there's been some decisions with him with Isaiah Williams and whoever else. But the fact that you put the starting offensive line on special teams on that play, and then Breece Hall as the up back, their personal protector, and that's your fake. Like the Broncos didn't fall for it at all. Maybe the next Jets fake punt, they can put Justin Fields back at punter, and they'll really fake out the punt team. Or the punt defense, they'll really, or the return team, sorry. They'll really fake them out. Justin Fields punting the ball. It was that fucking obvious. It's they got it, cool, but at that point, just put Justin Fields or Breece Hall under center and just sneak them. Why are you going to have the starting offensive line out there on punt? Teams are not idiots. It's not like high school where, your starters on offense are the starters on special teams, at least if you're a bad high school team like my team was. But just such bad decision making. The defense stepped up. That was obviously great. JJ made a huge impact, and we'll get into all that stuff. But the offense too, the lack of creativity, the lack of motion, the lack of designed quarterback runs. And I'm not even talking about read option because read option, yeah, sure, I want it. But on top of that, actually thinking about the read option stuff is Justin Fields comes out and says he's not running, he's not comfortable. I don't know if he said he's not running because of it, but he said he's not as comfortable with his legs because he has a contusion. So Justin Fields' superpower, the only thing that can make him even sniff being an average quarterback in the NFL is his legs. And if that superpower is taken away from him, then why don't you sit him for a week or two, let him get healthy, and then play Tyrod? Because you can have an argument about who's better, Justin Fields or Tyrod. And obviously after last week, everybody's going to say Tyrod. But in general, I think they're kind of in the same type of plane. But if Fields is injured and doesn't have his legs and you can't run those plays because of that, and the coaches know that, then bench him and let Tyrod play. And even if he didn't tell you that and he's kind of keeping that to himself, if you see he doesn't have it in the first, second quarter, the third quarter, put in Tyrod. Like it's not a thing. Like he's not Peyton Manning. You could always go back to him and say, yeah, he just didn't have it that game. Like it happens. So the decision to not pull him, the fourth down, the playing not to lose from Glenn at the end of the half was embarrassing. The fourth quarter timeout in a tight game, you might have needed that timeout. Embarrassing. The media has been embarrassing. The decision to bench Justin Fields last week was embarrassing. Like that was an all-time stinker from Glenn. That really, really was absolutely terrible. So he, again, blind faith. If you have faith in him going forward, we'll see what happens the rest of the season. Just like Rob D says here, it's a thing. Like at what point do you start rooting for losses? And this is a whole long discussion. I know people, if the Jets were 0-16, they're rooting for that last week to be a win. I understand. And when the game actually starts, I do feel myself having a tough time actually rooting against them. Like I start to root for them during the game. But at a certain point in the season, the best thing for the Jets may be to, and it depends kind of where you stand. If you want them and you have faith in Glenn, you want them to establish a culture and they can win some, meaningless games in December, then whatever. Like if they win games now, okay, I'm with it because I would like to see the players win. And ideally Glenn is the guy. Like you don't have to fire him. And they turn around this week and they win they have 11 games left. They win 5 or 6 out of the last 11 games and we have some faith going forward. Like fine, awesome. But at what point is it like, do we stop rooting for the Jets and we want them to get the number 1 overall pick just to obviously have the number 1 overall pick to get the best overall prospect? And then on top of that, at what point has Glenn proven that he's not the guy moving forward, and you want to make it glaringly obvious to Woody Johnson that he's not the guy? Because you don't want those phantom 2-3 wins at the end of the season, and then Glenn's out there preaching about how they fought back and how it started to come together, and then Woody Johnson buys into it and they ruin the quarterback. So it's a really hard discussion, Rob. It really is. I'm still rooting for wins at this point, but a couple more losses: 0-8, 0-9, 0-10. I think the mind is going to say to root against the Jets. The heart's always going to root for the Jets when the game actually comes on. Probably, maybe not, because I was definitely rooting for them against the Raiders a few years ago. We wanted Trevor Lawrence, but it's a dilemma, and it sucks. We're having this conversation October 17th, and really we were starting to talk about this stuff late September. Like late September, after the Bucs and the Dolphins losses, it already felt like the season was over. And then obviously the last 2 weeks, it's stamped now. You're 0-6. Eagles watching Kurt Warner reviews JK Eagle. It's, that's a whole long thing. It is funny that he kind of was going at Nani on Twitter, but then also admitting that Justin Fields wasn't good enough and stuff. It was just weird, but nonetheless, it is what it is. I actually got a little bit of that today. Sauce Gardner's brother went at me a little bit, but then also admitted I was right. So it's kind of weird. He was that one play in that blown coverage in the review. And if you watch the review, and I put it, I think Nani put it up on Twitter, on the Jets X Factor Twitter. I say hey, this is quarter coverage and basic quarters coverage. Sauce is supposed to drop off of this, but it looked like, Maui Noah may had to have matched the 3 to the flat there. And he didn't. So I'm not really sure exactly what it could have been. It could have been either Sauce's fault if this was the coverage, or it could have been Sherwood's fault if this was the coverage. And I say that specifically in the video, hey, I don't know exactly what I said, but something to the effect of hey, don't be so quick to judge Sauce Gardner. It may have been Sherwood's fault, and we don't know unless we're actually in the huddle, and we know the call. And I think that's what you have to do with a lot of these situations. Unless you hear the call and you know exactly what they're doing, then you can't judge it. Now you can have feels for stuff, if you know schemes, if you know offensive schemes, defensive schemes, which I'm actually trying to get better at. I'm very comfortable with the individual player stuff, technique and footwork of offensive linemen and corners and stuff like that, but trying to delve a little bit more into the schematical area of football, just currently watching stuff and whatever else. But nonetheless, with that play, I give an either or. If this was the call, it's Sherwood's fault. If this is the call, it's Sauce's fault. And I put that on social media. And then he initially tweeted at me like, "Oh, I'll stick to Jets news and not actually talking actual like film or whatever." He deleted it, and then we got into a long conversation about it. I was like, "Yeah, I gave the either or." And he's like, "Okay, well, I know that it was sure." He basically said, "I know it was Sherwood's fault. Like, I know whose fault it was," and it's because Sauce Gardner told him that. Like, Sauce told his brother that, "Hey, Sherwood was responsible for this, and people are blaming on me," which is fine to say that, like, clarify. But that's why I said, like, he's like, "Oh, I'm not criticizing you." I'm like, "Well, I'm confused that you're not criticizing me, but you're also telling me not to do film, but then admitting that my analysis was kind of right and saying that it could have not been on Sauce." So a little bit of an interesting situation, but we came to terms and not came to terms, but we made good on that. He's like, "Yeah, you're free to put up what you want. I just know what happened," because again, Sauce was in the huddle. Sauce tells his brother, "I'm not in the huddle, so I don't know exactly whose fault it was," because again, it was neither or. Unless you have the call, there's literally no way you could say it whose fault it was. And that's why so many people on Twitter are disingenuous with, "Oh, this is the coverage, this is that." You can know maybe, I don't know, 60, 70% of the time, 80% of the time, but for a lot of calls, you have to give either ors. You have to, because you're not there. You're not there. You can say on certain things, like, it's obviously inside zone, and this is the reads. If it's obviously outside zone, if it's obviously cover 3 buzz or maple or whatever, like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what they're supposed to do. But certain situations when guys blow coverages, it can look like it's either or type situation. So whatever, that's Twitter. But I engage with him because I knew it was Sauce's brother. So if you want to go on Twitter and find that conversation, you can. But I kind of called him out, like, dude, you can't, it is what it is. I was right in the end of the day, and he kind of admitted that, but nonetheless. Oh, my bad. Let's see. I hate that the new StreamYard thing is like people's ats. Like, I don't know if there's a way for me to if anybody does streams or anything like that, or you know how to change that. Is there a way I could change back to see your guys' names and not the ats? Or is there a way for you guys to change the ats back to the names? Because it's driving me crazy. I don't know who you guys are. It's really annoying. Like, obvious ones, I know who they are. Like Jan, I know who Jan is. Eagle Fang, hey Joe, what do you think of Aaron Glenn's excuses for their first half blunder? Eberflus was fired last year after that. It made no sense too. Even at the end of the game, he's like, "Oh, it would have been like a 68-yard field goal or this yard field." Like, he didn't even know how far they were. Like, okay, the yard line you're at minus 17. That's how far the field goal is. If you're at the 40, it's 57. And you just seem confused about exactly where they were. And to me, and it's not Monday morning quarterbacking. It's really not. I would admit to you guys if I thought a call was good or bad, like prior to it happening in the actual result, just like the play was it against the Cowboys where they accepted the penalty and then took the extra down. I think a lot of people were Monday morning quarterbacking that. I was more indifferent on that. I was probably 55 leaning towards just take the yardage and get 2 plays to take a yard, but I understood the call of taking an extra down. And people were jumping on Glenn's back for that. I'm not going to kill him for that. I can't, because if it worked out, people would have had a completely different view. Like, oh, you had an extra down, they get 2 yards. You should be able to get 2 yards, play, whatever. So I'm not just saying I'm Monday morning quarterback, and I wouldn't lie to you guys. But at that point in the game, Justin Fields on 4th and 8 with the pressure he's seeing this game and the coverage, like, how do you trust him to get 8 yards on that play? You just can't. Folk made a 58-yarder. And again, the 60-yarders are not a given nowadays, but it's completely different. Like the fact that these kickers and stuff are able to doctor their balls, high 50s kicks, low 60s kicks are very makeable. And Folk just made a 58-yarder with at least 4, 5, 6 yards to spare. I much would have rather lost that game if Folk doinking it off the bottom crossbar than Justin Fields and trusting him on 4th and 8. So that was a terrible decision. And also, I believe on that set of downs, they passed the ball 4 times in a row, if I'm not mistaken. You have a guy who can't run, or you have a guy who can't pass the ball for shit and is consistently taking sacks. You're getting into field goal range, and then you pass the ball 4 times in a row. And again, like at that point, if you trust Folk, who's been the most accurate kicker in the NFL the last few years, like that's the one given on your team, run the ball 3 times and try to get 6, 7, 8 yards. Like, I'd rather put the ball in Breece Hall's hands as a running back, or even Justin Fields, like, hey, get over your contusion and run the ball for this yardage and pick up that yardage, pick up at least 5, 6, 7 yards and make a 62, a 58, 57. Now, obviously, that wouldn't all wouldn't matter if Justin Fields can hit the broadside of a barn on a speed out because he's either inside or late. So just super frustrating. There's just beyond frustrating with that game. They really should have won that game, the Steelers game. All the other games, they were more like blowouts with the Jets coming back late and shit. But like minimum, just because of like coaching, in my opinion. Yeah, two games were lost specifically because of coaching, in my opinion. And like we could talk about the other ones. Like maybe even the Dolphins game, like putting Isaiah Williams back there, fine. But Xavier Gibson, guy 99.9% of Jets fans called a cut, lost us game one. And in this game, I think Folk makes that field goal. Like he's missed like what 2 or 3, 4 field goals in the last 2 years. It's just bad, man. Latin Rubin, Kev Chata. Remember that? Glenn going for a fourth to waste away at the end of the half. I don't even. No, dude. Like, and I'm being realistic here. Maybe it's just like I'm the victim of it being sooner. I don't know. There's definitely a way to phrase that better, but I know there's like a term for that. The victim of something. I don't know. I think at least Gase he won 7 games in 2020 with a much worse team, and at least Glenn or at least Adam Gase scored opening drive touchdowns like most of the games. The Jets still haven't scored a first half touchdown since week 1. They still average, what was the stat last week? Six points or whatever before the fourth quarter. And in this game, think about it. Like they scored 11 points. One was a safety because of a great punt by McNamara, who's probably a top 3 punter in the NFL right now. That's 2 points. You have the fumble by Brownlee that, of course, they got the ball at the 35-yard line. They couldn't drive it in. Field goal there, so that's 5 points. And then you have the long kickoff return for like 70 yards by, I don't know if it's Nwangwu or Nguanu, whatever it is, Nwanu. That brought them to like the 40, the 35-yard line, whatever that was, and that's a field goal. So the offense really, I don't remember the drive where they drive for the field goal, but they only scored 3 points by themselves. Like you just put up 3 points in an NFL game on as an offensive team, and Parsons said it on Twitter this week, Micah Parsons, like the game is so doctored to offenses to be good in terms of, offenses can false start, defenses can't. You could get OPI or you can get DPIs, but you can't get OPIs unless you're Garrett Wilson. Defense or offense can hold, defense can hold. Like it is so doctored for the offense to be successful. And the fact you only put up 3 points in this game was embarrassing. And part of it's on the coach. Like in the first half, in the first quarter, we all saw that Justin Fields didn't have it. Again, you don't owe him anything. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. Like sit him down, which by the way, speaking of those guys, I didn't mean to do that. But Glenn also compares, Justin Fields to those guys. Like, oh, those guys hold the ball for forever. The difference is they throw the ball down the field. Like Justin Fields takes 5 seconds to get to a check down. If Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are holding the ball for 5 seconds, they're throwing a scramble drill and throwing the ball down the field. Josh Allen hits Garrett Wilson for a touchdown on that first sack. Lamar Jackson probably does it as well. So you can't compare them. And even without that, the fact that they have a higher average depth of target, they've also did Lamar win an MVP? He won an MVP, right? You're comparing Justin Fields, who's a borderline starter, to 2 MVPs. You're comparing yourself as a coach to Hall of Fame head coaches. Like, stop comparing yourself. Stop worrying about the media. Like, he's so concerned about what people think about him. Just fucking win games, man. He's so frustrating. He really, and I want him to be good, Jets player, all that. And obviously I didn't really watch him. I was born in 93. So I was very little when he was playing for the Jets, 5, 6, 7 on whatever year he left the Jets, like 2001, 2, whatever it was. Whenever the Texans became a franchise. But so I want him to work out regardless, but my God, he has been incompetent. My God. If they want to win, they need to start Tyrod. Why whip a dead horse? Fields is not the answer here, like he wasn't for the 2 other teams. And again, there's a reason he's on his 3rd team in 3 years, and there's a reason I said that after watching the Steelers film. And people were coming out like, "Oh, you're an idiot. The Steelers wanted them back. They promised Russell." We're all those guys now, by the way, who are like, "Oh my God, Russell Wilson was promised the job. That's why they benched him. He's playing so well." Do you have faith in Justin Fields still? Because he's been god awful. Bills game, god awful. This game, god awful. Okay, Dolphins game, he was okay at best, so he's had a good game, 2 just historically inept games, and then like a decent game or 2. This is what he is. He's a high level backup to a very low end starter. But again, if he can't use his legs and that, why is he in? What is Tyrod here for? you know. Only games Jets can win. Yeah, it's, listen, like, would you have said they could have beaten the Broncos this week? Like, you can't say that necessarily, like they could have easily won that game. So you could really win any game. And in terms of expecting wins, well, you can't really do that either, but they could have won this game. The Panthers are 3-3. They beat the Cowboys last week, who we didn't even sniff. They blew out the Falcons, who just beat the Bills, which is crazy. It's just how the NFL works. And again, unless you're the Jets. So we'll see about that. The Bengals just beat the Broncos. Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco, and he's still a game managing quarterback, a low end starter, but who can manage the game, especially versus defensive super low coverages. Now they didn't this week. Sans Sherwood blew three, and people say he played better, and sure he did. He blew 3 coverages in this game. The 3rd and 3. He was very late to get. I don't know if you guys remember these plays. If you go to the review, I can, obviously I can pull them up if you really wanted me to. Which, by the way, if you guys ever want me to pull up a play and talk about it, I can. But 3 plays. 3rd and 3, he was man coverage on a running back. He was outflanked by the running back just by alignment, and then is late to backs the running back wide open into the flat, outruns him for like 20 yards. That's I don't know if that's play 1, but that's one of the plays. 2, he didn't blow the coverage, but he got roasted by Evan Ingram on 3rd and 3 or 4th and 3. I think it was a 4th down. Yeah, they 4th and 3. Bo Nix, I think it was like 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12, and then Nix scrambled for like 8 or 9 yards. I'm like, God damn, like they have no concern about the Jets offense. They're going to go for this, and they went for it. And then you had man coverage, Evan Ingram against Sherwood, and Sherwood bit so hard on a 2-step release inside. And then Evan Ingram was wide open. So it's not a blown coverage. And then the touchdown, he, at least by Sauce's brother, who Sauce is obviously talking with, that was a situation where it was like a Meg coverage, and Sauce is going to match the number 1 no matter what. And then the safety is going to take anything vertical from 2, but 2 stayed a little bit short. So he matched the 1. So they basically double the 1. You have the 2 who runs in the wheel route, and in that coverage, Sherwood's supposed to follow the 2, and then you got Maui Noah, who was outflanked as well, but he's supposed to match the 3 in that quarter's coverage, and Sherwood blew that one for a touchdown as well. So I don't know, like, yeah, sure, he had like people say he's had a better game, I guess, because he showed, and that's the problem with like people who just watch the broadcast. It's like, oh yeah, he had a better game. He got beat twice in man coverage, one because of a bite, one because he was just like the dumbest decision ever. You're outflanked. He's lined up to the left of the quarterback. You're more toward the quarterback, and he takes off immediately, and he drops back a little bit. And it's like, oh shit, I got the running back. So there's a mental lapse there. So Sherwood, in terms of like, did he have a positive or negative game? It was a negative game. Sherwood did not play well again. So, man, he's been abysmal. But yeah, so going into, I don't know how I got into this, but yeah, Panthers, Bengals. The problem with the Browns is their defense is really good. And if Justin Fields is going to hold the ball, Myles Garrett is, in my opinion, the best DN in football. He's a freak, dude. He is an absolute freak. So I don't know. Like, sure, I guess they could win that game. You got the Saints again. You got the Dolphins. So you have, the Falcons. You have some winnable games. Like they'll win at least a game or 2 or 3. But I'm not gonna say just the Browns and Dolphins game, because you have the Saints too. You have the Saints, and obviously any team, any day, like it can happen. Nobody expected the Jets to be in the Broncos game, and they easily should. They should have won that game. They really should have. Kev says the arrogance. I don't know why this light feels so bright right now. It's because like I'm just like off in my sleep schedule. It's just like bright lights are destroying right now. The arrogance of Glenn the Presser, only to admit Fields later regress on his own. Glenn, yeah, dude, he's been abysmal. He's been putting his own foot in his mouth consistently. Really, he's really been terrible. Like at least Saleh was just like soft with the media, and he was terrible too though. But Glenn has been worse. Chris, what's up, Chris? Go Jets, love you all. Teams want to play us to pad their stats. Yeah, Fields should honestly just become a taste. I gotta like chug water. Hold on. Peter Allen, sorry, I just started to feel like a little bit like spacey. The roster's not 0-6 bad. It's not great, but it's not like, let's say, and obviously a lot of it's dependent on the quarterback, right? So in my opinion, they should be 2-4 just based on coaching. Okay. Dolphins game, you could argue 3-3. Let's say everybody had the same quarterback. Everybody had Joe Flacco at quarterback. I think the Jets are a mid-level type of team. I do. Like they have a good defense. They have all pros. They have first round picks. You had a bunch of high picks on the offensive line. You have Garrett Wilson. You have Brees. Like every team has holes. I think people notice them more in the Jets and say we suck because one coaching makes players look bad. Like look how well Joe Flacco's doing. Example of coaching with quarterback. Look what Darnold's doing. Like Darnold is like a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. So coaching is huge, and quarterback is huge, and the Jets are severely lacking in both. So that's the reason we're 0-6. But in terms of everybody else, but quarterback and head coach, which is obviously the biggest part of the problem, the Jets are, again, in my opinion, a mid-level team. I think they're 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th best team in terms of roster if you take out quarterback and head coach. So Zane dumped Glenn after this year. Get McCarthy and draft a quarterback. McCarthy has been a former quarterback coach. He calls plays. The only problem with McCarthy, again, like I get it, and I would, I think McCarthy at this point would be more successful than Glenn. I just think McCarthy has disappointed a little bit with good teams. I do, and has the NFL passed him by a little bit at this point? Like he's not the top of my list. I would rather go with like more innovative guys. Like gun to my head right now, not even gun to my head, but like Cliff Kingsbury, I'd rather have over McCarthy. And there'll be some guys, but I'm not so down with McCarthy. I wouldn't hate it necessarily, but I wouldn't love it either. I'd be very lukewarm on McCarthy, just being honest. Just to think what Johnson's hired as ex-GM and Spillman. Yeah, we said that last week, Eagle. Which, by the way, how are your Lightning? It's the first time the Devils beat the Lightning in seemingly, 8 years. But they're playing well, man. No, they played the Panthers, the Hurricanes, and the Lightning so far, and they're 2-1. Or no, sorry, they played the Blue Jackets too. So Blue Jackets, I think they're 3-1 right now or 2-1. Devils are playing well though. But Lightning are a bugaboo for the Devils, and they kind of smacked them around in that game. Yeah, David. I talked about this in the beginning. It's embarrassing, man. Like it's a perfectly reasonable question. It's like, oh, what kind of question is that? Like, really, dude? You said -10 passing yards, -10, and you're getting mad at the media? Like, it's a perfectly reasonable question. No, we're not. We have faith in it, that Justin Fields will turn it around. We acknowledge it wasn't the best game from him. And we hope he improves next week. Like you don't have to be a excuse my French, but a dickhead about it. There's absolutely no reason, dude. Joe, Jets will be good in 2028. Hey man, I'll sign the dotted line for that right now. 2028, 2025, 3 years. I can survive another 3 years of them being awful. But with who? Is it at that point, it's 2028. We drafted a quarterback in 2026. 2027, the quarterback completely sucked. We ruined him. Glenn is fired. So, okay, so it's the next quarterback. It's not this quarterback. It's the next quarterback, most likely, if it's 2028. Unlikable by the day. Yeah, dude. I'm with you, beloved piece. I really am. Like, I want to root for him. I want everybody for the Jets. Like, even the guys I don't like. It's like I don't like them personally. I don't like that they suck, relatively. Like Michael Clemens, I want him to get 14 sacks, and people are like, oh, you're an idiot for criticizing Clemens, because I'm a Jets fan first. Like, I want the Jets to win, man. Like that's all it is. But Glenn he is on a rough start, to say the least. It's bizarre for me that a former really talented NFL player can be so clueless at in-game decisions. It's the part of the problem too, right? Like, you think about it, Peter, it's the fact that lots on his plate too, right? Like, he's overseeing the entire team. He's the GM, and that's another part of the media too. Like, in the Breece Hall questions, what if you trade him now? You just said you're not going to trade him. Like, why not just say, oh, well, I have to talk to Muji about that, or Muji makes the decisions. Like, why put your foot in your mouth there either? I didn't necessarily like that, but there's a lot on his plate too. There is. Can you explain to me why JT was cut and Clemens is still on the team? JT? You're talking about Leonard Taylor. I don't know. The problem with him out of college, and again, this is all speculation. I have no, people, oh my God, you don't know about him, or criticizing whatever. Like, the rumor of him, like, he wasn't the hardest worker, not the most mature person in the world. Maybe that was it. And again, it's not a popular thing to do. I will say Clemens just had the best 2 weeks of his NFL career, where he actually stayed home a little bit more. He bull rushed the right guard for a safety. So Clemens, the last 2 weeks, again, this is going to sound crazy to say, but he's been a rosterable player. Like, if Clemens can play like he did the last 2 weeks, I think he's your fifth the end, your fourth the end. Even though last week he was out of position No, that was last week too. He's completely out of position. Okay, sorry. Let me rephrase. This week he played like a rosterable player. That's all I'll say. But yeah, Leonard Taylor, I don't know, man. He has talent. It has to be a work ethic thing, but I can't trust Glenn with talent evaluation necessarily either. So Paul says the problem is Woody Glenn will get 2 years no matter what, and we will be rebuilding forever. I've had this conversation quite a bit. Like, is it Woody Johnson's fault again? He's invested money. He meddles when shit is really hitting the fan. But the first year or 2 or 3 of guys, he typically stays out of it. You know, Rex Ryan, he completely stayed out of it. You know, 09, 010, 011, there was no Woody Johnson talk. Woody Johnson got involved in 2012 when 11 went downhill, you know, and got Tebow. He gave Saleh and company, who weren't his coaches, plenty of years of him not interfering. And then the last year when shit really started to hit the fan, he fired Saleh, you know, apparently in the offseason, or at that point, he forced the Devontae Adams stuff. He forced the Reddick stuff. So he meddles late, but early he gives guys opportunities. And he also, like, yeah, the stadium sucks. The season ticket, like, we can talk about all that stuff. That's embarrassing. But in terms of the coaches, it's not like he's not Jerry Jones. You know, like, I don't know. I do think people are too quick to just complain. And I don't like Woody either. But I don't think like, oh, the Jets can never win a Super Bowl with Woody, because they were close in 9 and 10 with Woody. You know, they made the playoffs plenty in the 2000s with Woody. So I think he's part of the problem. I don't think he is the problem, and you can't ever win with him. Now the thing with Woody is, like, obviously this is his guy, you know, is he going to be patient? I don't know. I don't think the money thing is a huge deal. The speculation is he's making somewhere around 10, 11, $12 million a year, Glenn, and he's on a 5-year contract, but Woody Johnson has billions, maybe not, probably billions of dollars. Like, he is one of the more rich owners in sports. So if he has to eat $40 million, you know, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think that's going to change his decision, honestly. Yeah, seeing all these teams light up the Cowboys defense and all we could do is 2 garbage. Yep, you're right. You're right, David. Everybody puts up stats on them. Optimistic about what? I don't see it. If they win 2 games, I'll be surprised. Are you talking about like other people, Matt? I don't know what you're talking about. 2 games, they'll win 2, dude. It'll happen. It always happens. You know, just the Adam Gase 2021 Jets won 2 games. They'll win 2 or 3. You know, again, we all know as Jets fans, it'll happen in December. You know, it'll happen in early January when we don't want them to win. They'll win. That's what's going to happen. You know, we never. Can I say that Sauce has been better than people think he's been? There's just a stat that came out of like the chart of like separation numbers and stuff. And if you're like top right, you're like the best corner in the NFL, and he was all the way top right. Sauce has been good. You know, that play was a blown play by Sherwood. Again, the Pickens play, Pickens clearly pushed off twice. How are you supposed to really defend that? He could have done a little bit better, but how do you defend that? The Waller play could have done better. He got pushed off. Like, Sauce has not been a problem this year. He's really not. Like, extend Sauce, that's fine. I'm completely fine, because the price only goes up, and it's not like the extension kicks in now, Kev. It's not, oh, just trash the contract and then the money kicks in. The money kicks in after the 4th year. So it's not like he's making that money now. Like, you just decided to extend him early. It would have been the same thing next year. Like, the money kicks in at the same time. If you played out this year, then you extend him. The money's the same. If the money kicks in at the same time, at least I'm 99% sure of that. And then you'd have guys who would have extended, and the price only goes up. So paying Sauce was the right decision. You know, like, has he been the best corner in the NFL? No, but has he still been a top 10 guy at the minimum? Yeah, he's still been very good. Look at the separation numbers. Guys are not creating separation on him. Now, you can find the ball better. There's some penalties you cannot have. You know, the penalty on Waddle and stuff, even though that was kind of soft. Yeah, sure, but Sauce is Sauce is fine, dude. Sauce is completely fine. No doubt. Sauce, Garrett, you keep those guys around. You know, you have to have building blocks. Everybody's like, oh, trade Sauce, trades Q. It's like, okay, then we're starting a rebuild with just Garrett and an offensive line. No. Whole court. Yeah, the Kurt Warner thing was a little bit weird. Like, he cherry picked that play specifically. And listen, it is what it is. Nani, I think he can acknowledge that he made a mistake on that play, and the flat is the first read there. Now, if Nani was saying it like, hey, yeah, the flat's open, but maybe check that corner or that sail just quickly. If he phrased it like that, I don't think he would have gotten in trouble on Twitter. But it is what it is. It happens. Hire John Gruden. Joby is absolutely goated. I appreciate that. But let's not hire John Gruden. Please, John Gruden. Let's not do that. He hasn't been good in 20 years. He went to the Raiders as a complete failure. So no, I absolutely 1000% out on John Gruden. If Fields completes that ball to Wilson for what, 7-8 yards, he still finishes with negative passing yards. Dude, think about it. Right. And obviously it depends on when it came, but this is being a little bit too generic. But if the Jets had 0 passing yards in that game, if they didn't pass the ball one time, they win that game. They needed 10 yards. They needed 4 yards. They needed 5 yards. They needed no yards, really. They could have kicked a 62-yard field goal. And I think full 50-50 shot, he makes it, brutal. This team will bring the fans eating each other. Not worth it. Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, no doubt. People are all over each other on Twitter. And it's going to happen. You're going to argue about the coach. We're going to argue about firing him. We're going to argue about quarterbacks. We're going to argue about, everything. It's just, I don't know. Your mother. What's up? Joe, God bless you for sticking with making content for this woebegone team. I'm so tired of this garbage year after year. Yeah, it's honestly the hardest thing. It's not talking to you guys. Like I do enjoy these. Watching the film the day after is always just like, my God. But there's some guys to evaluate, so it's not terrible. I can tell you transparently that the thing I'm looking forward to the least is watching the quarterbacks. There's so much into watching the quarterback, the offensive system, the reads. Is it like a pure progression offense? Is it more of a standard offense where you're going on your reads based on the coverage? Pure progression's more you read 1 and 2 no matter what, 1, 2 to 3, whatever. And there's some hot routes you can adjust that. Like there's just so much into quarterbacks, and there's so much arguing about it. And then you put up plays on Twitter, and you get the guys who are saying, "Oh, you don't know ball," but then give no examples of why you don't know ball because they just want to argue with people and they want the engagement. Like it's just, I hate the quarterback stuff. I really do. And it's just been like, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, this free agent, that free agent, the quarterback position. It's just getting really old. Same thing with the head coaches. Like initially I was looking at the head coaches, when they first started, 2015, 16, 17, I was really like looking into these guys and doing deep dives. But then it's like we don't even know what they're going to call. We don't know if it's going to be more the DC or the head coach, or we don't know if they're going to implement new stuff. Like, I'm just so sick of like the restarts of head coach and quarterback. I'm going to start doing it soon. I think like bye week, I'm not going to do reviews, but I'm going to tap into a little bit of Mendoza. It's Mendoza. Again, tell me in the chat. It's Mendoza, Simpson, Sellers, and then there's another dude, right, who's a kind of elevating himself, but it seems like as of right now, like the two hot guys, the two guys who are at the top is Simpson from Alabama and the Indiana quarterback. I literally just said his name, Mendoza. So I think I'm going to tap in a little bit in the bye week, like maybe watch 2-3 games of them each and just get like a general feel for who they are, so I could talk about them with a little bit of knowledge. And then once more time frees up in the offseason, I'll watch, I always watch quarterbacks entire season. Really, all of the draft picks of the Jets, I watch their entire seasons. Yeah, that's factual, actually. Every single draft pick, I watch their entire seasons. I'm not one of the guys who watches 2 or 3 games and cherry pick stuff for the most part. Unless it's like, hey, Brownlee, Brownlee was signed. I got a review 2 days later. So I didn't watch 2 full seasons. I watched, 8, 9, 10 games, which is usually enough for a very good feel on a player. Being at home is different. Fans will rain down boos, first incompletion or sacks. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's almost like added pressure. It's almost easier to be on the road and not have to hear that stuff. But and fans deserve to be, dude. They do. You pay for your ticket. Don't tell people how to fan. People are pissed off and they deserve to be. Mike Sanders. Yeah, I'm with you. Gruden's ridiculously overrated. He was good in 2003, 4. Came to the Raiders, sucked. Obviously all the stuff happened, like the emails or whatever. And I don't know if he's like blackballed or whatever. I don't really look into it so much. I don't want to speak about something I'm not knowledgeable about because I really don't know. But no, same thing with Rex. Like he was good a decade and a half ago. Why? Yeah, the NFL is all about like deception and game planning. Like I don't care if a guy's a rah-rah guy. It doesn't do much if you lose. Look at Glenn. He's a rah-rah guy. I'm sure he had guys all pumped up. You need to win games. Again, if we had nothing to evaluate, nothing. I'm just talking about their opening press conference. 99 out of 100 people would pick Glenn over Liam Cohen. And look what's happening. We have no idea if Folk makes a 62-yard field goal, but I'm taking my chance. Yeah, no doubt, David. That's the thing. Especially with the way Justin Fields was playing that game. Now, if this was the Pittsburgh Steelers game and they went for it on 4th and 8 at the end of the game, I would completely understand it. Like, okay, that's probably the right decision. Like, the offense has been moving the ball. But at that point, you have negative 10 passing yards. How are you going to put the ball in Justin Fields' hands over Nick Folk, who is, again, one of the better kickers in the NFL? Yeah, Yoshi. That's 100%. And that's the funny thing. I was actually going to say that. To be weird, but I was thinking about it in the shower, like before I came down here. I was showering. I was just like, it's exactly what I was going to say about that. You know, good result, bad process. Like, that's a terrible play. I don't care that they got it. It doesn't matter. It's an awful process. Awful. We've been again set up to fail by hiring a rookie head coach and a rookie GM and a rookie head coach. You're talking about with this team. Yeah, it's not the best decision. That's why you're hoping that the next coach has experience. Like, I want an experienced coach no matter what. Again, if that's Kingsbury, okay, fine. Obviously, we'd all like offense. I couldn't kill a Flores hire. Like, he's, defense is always good, creating turnovers. Hopefully learned Brooklyn guy. I obviously prefer the offensive side, and I'm not looking into candidates so far, but like a Kingsbury, okay. Like a guy who's learned, a guy who's had his lumps, innovative offense, all that stuff, cool. On that 4th down at the end, the field pump fake it too. Yeah, I think he went to go. So I think what happened on that one, Zane, was he went to throw it to the backside drag route, and then when he saw that there was a safety dropping down, that's why he pulled it. Like, he didn't pump fake it, he pulled it. He was going to throw it and then said, "Oh shit." Annoys me seeing how easily teams can execute a 2-minute draw. Dude, yeah, watching other football just frustrates me. Because I'm like, oh, this is what real football looks like. What is sad is the Jets should have won and would have won if Glenn wanted to win. All he had to do was bench Fields. Yeah. I think he wanted to win. I don't think it's about want. I think it's about knowing how to win. Right? Let's see where I'm at. I'm about 20 minutes behind in the chat. And I'll go over like the individual players as soon as we run out of the chat and stuff. And then, we'll always see. These are always up to you guys. It's gonna be an hour stream, an hour and a half stream, 2-hour stream, 2 wins or less, you basically have to move on. No one would have thought that this would be in the cards. This isn't a 2. Yeah, no doubt. Like, there's a reason that I think most sports books had the Jets between 5.5 and 6.5 wins. So that was the expectation. If you win 2 or 3 games, then yeah, absolutely not. Like even at 3 games, I think I'm probably out. But obviously depends, right? Like, I don't think you can make that bland of a statement. If they win 2 games, but they're consistently in the games, the defense is playing better. They're not losing because of blown coverages. Glenn's making the right clock management decisions. He's not putting his foot in his mouth in the media. He's just losing because of Fields or losing because of Tyrod. Then okay, that's a conversation. But what I will say is, if it's looking like it does now through the rest of the season and they only win 2 or 3 games, then yeah, like if we have more blowouts, if they look unprepared, like all this stuff, then yeah, I just don't understand how you could say, okay, yeah, Glenn, here's a rookie quarterback. Hopefully it works out. If not, we're going to fire you. And based on what we've seen through let's say again, this does continue over the year. You're assuming that the next year is not going to work out. Like, if he looks like this the rest of the year, what's the chances he works out year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Very, very low. So I'd rather just start over. I really just rather start over. Eat the money, Woody. I'm sorry. But at that point, if it looks like this, what is it? A 10, 15, 20% shot? Like, hire a new guy. And for the Jets, it's obviously less than a 50% shot, but it feels like a new guy's like a 50-50 shot of working out. Give me that over Glenn's 15% chance. Obviously, I'm just like throwing numbers. You get the general feel of what I'm saying, though. Like, why risk it? David, I think Kenne's last name is pronounced Nwangwu. Nwangwu? No, Nwangwu. Okay, fine. Nwangwu. That's it. Daniel Gonzalez, got to find a way to blitz Bryce Young on defense. On offense, got to find a way to. I don't know the numbers. I don't chart stuff. I don't have time. I think the review's out quick, obviously, for Jake's show, and then get them out for you guys as well. So I don't chart stuff. It would take me a lot more time. Maybe somebody has the blitz numbers. I think the Jets blitz less this week. Less blown coverages. The only really blown coverages are by Sherwood. I'm sure there's another one or two. Maui Noah played great. I thought, like, after a bad week against the Cowboys where he did blow a coverage for a touchdown, people were so out on him, like, oh my God, blown 5th round pick. It's like, one, he's a 5th round pick. You got to give him that at the minimum a year to see what he is. and he's being forced to start early because of Quincy, like a spot he was never expected to be in. And people were way overly critical of Maui Noah. Like he had some good plays, some bad plays last few weeks. This game, he was excellent. Really, really good. Forced the hold on the left guard. Again, watch the short review that comes out tomorrow. Or if hopefully you already watched the full review. Again, $3 a month, you can watch it. Even in the background, put it up on the screen. If you hear a play that you're liking being discussed, and then flip to it, like whatever. But obviously, no bias there, no bias at all. But he did a really good job stemming the left guard, forcing the left guard to get into a shuffle, shorten the stride as he gets into that contact window, crosses his face, forced the hold. Had a few. He jumped through some gaps for some tackles for losses. He got some pressures. Like he was very good this game. Maui Noah. The light grenade. The minute I wish I had your guys' actual names, because I don't know if people are new. I've never seen this name before, but maybe it's just like somebody I know. But the minute I saw him say that the nonsense about holding on to the ball and how condescending he was about it, like no one outside of football would get it, I knew fans would say, "Screw you." So yeah, man. You can't compare Justin Fields to Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Like fans are not dumb. Even just statistically, there's so many stats out there. Like, oh yeah, they hold the ball, but again, look at the ADOTs. They're completely different. Josh Allen will hold the ball for 5 seconds and then throw it. He'll uke up a 70-yard touchdown. Like that's what Josh Allen does. Justin Fields holds the ball, runs around for 5 seconds, and then checks it down. The Justin Fields fan, I don't know what is that like Justin Fields FC or whatever that is. Yeah, dude, those accounts are brutal. But yeah, the Fields truthers are dwindling quickly. Justin Fields has the worst internal clock I've ever seen in a quarterback. I've also seen him misread some options plays. Yeah, no, a lot of them, Yoshi, a lot of them. And that's part of the problem is like, oh, give him read option. Yeah, sure. Well, one, obviously he's hurt, which again, my argument is okay, then play Tyrod. But the second part of that is he doesn't read them very well. He doesn't read it. So that's the part of the problem with that. RPOs are more complex because it's a run pass option. I hear people say read option and RPO and lump them together. They're different because you have the pass option with RPOs. And now you're expecting him to read the run and the pass within half a second. I don't know about that. And then the only problem I have with rolling him out is, and it's been a common thing. I do want to see again more motion. I want to see more creativity. I want to see a little bit more rollouts. I want to see more design quarterback runs, but in terms of not read option, but in terms of counters, powers, traps, things like that. The problem with the Jets and their offense in terms of rolling him out is they've been facing so much blitz that if you're not right in your rollout and you roll out right into a blitz, you're screwed. So I understand them not rolling him out as much because of the blitzes they're seeing. With that being said, Engstrand, I know like after 3 weeks, it's like, oh, he's like a BB plus. He's kind of the last few weeks, he's been going down. My opinion of him, C plus now. Obviously after 3 weeks, 3 weeks is not a large sample size, but after the last 3 weeks, including that, I would say like C plus. He's been a C plus coordinator. Guys are running around, but again, there's a lack of creativity and stuff from him at times. Now, again, if Fields was injured, I understand a little bit. Like I can give him a little bit of a caveat, but 9.493 nothing. You can't category dismiss being a rookie, having both rookie 9.493. Is that a guy's like handle or something? I don't know. Having both a rookie head coach, GM makes more likely. Growing pains, movie set up that. Yeah. Rookie OC, rookie O-line coach who has not been bad, but still, a quarterbacks coach who's not really developed anybody with Drake London. Is his name Drake London? It's London, right? Is it Drake London? Or am I on crack? I think it's Drake London. Yeah, did the same thing in 2021. Rookie head coach, rookie OC, like a 34-year-old rookie OC, rookie quarterback. His backup was what? Was it Mike White at that point? Was it Mike White in 2021? But like I said that all entire offs and that and then the fact that they didn't bring in any tight ends for who's the quarterback's safety valve. They didn't bring in any tight ends. And I also said in that season, like you need to have, especially if you have a rookie OC, bring in a vet quarterback to show them the ropes a little bit. So that Jets Browns game is going to set football back decades. And their defense is good, man. I don't know. I have more confidence in the Jets versus like maybe not the Panthers now, but initially minus last night, I had more faith in them versus the Bengals with Jake Browning than I did against the Browns because the Browns defense is very good, at least in the front. I don't see Fields becoming a top 10 quarterback. Yeah, no. I would say I don't think anybody in here who's not on drugs doesn't see. I don't see Fields being an average quarterback. I think Fields is a low end starter to a high end backup. I think that's what he is. You need a top 10 quarterback to win the Super Bowl in this league. Yeah, I would say like generally about that, right? Matt Stafford is, and I think Matt Stafford is underrated in general. But he's top 10. You know, Goff with the Lions, like when he produces and when he's on, he's a top 10 quarterback. You know, Lamar always have a chance. Obviously, Pat Mahomes has a chance. All this stuff. Which, by the way, I don't know why this came to my mind because of rankings, but I love the fact that you had PFF get flamed a little bit this week. You know, JJ Watt came out there and said, and he said the same thing I've been saying for years at this point. PFF is good for alignments and even coverages. Like, do they even know what coverages are? Like cover 3 could look like cover 4 sometimes, but so I'm gonna love that. But like this guy lines up here this many times. They blitz this many times. The things that are glaringly obvious, I think they're good for. But JJ Watt was saying he was in a cab and he had a guy who knew nothing about football, and he was telling me he grades guys. And Watt even said, he's like, I'm an expert at defensive line play. And unless I have the specific defensive call and I'm there for installs and stuff, I can't judge them. Like I can have a general opinion of it, but I can't judge them if I don't know the call. And you got guys who are Uber drivers who know nothing about football. And trust me, I've seen people on Twitter who say they grade PFF grades and then they put up film. I'm like, these guys couldn't be more wrong. I'm not Bill Belichick, and I know they're glaring wrong about stuff and they judge games. It's like, so they got killed by him a little bit. I think Chris Long killed him a little bit on like some radio show. Chris Long, right? He's he used to be the DN for the Eagles at the end of his career. Was it the Eagles? But he said the same thing. Like these grades are just awful. Like they had, and again, it's all based on numbers and whatever else. But like Patrick Mahomes as the 13th overall quarterback in the NFL, it's like, yeah, he hasn't been good, but 13th, like, come on, dude. You know, so. Oh, okay. On paper wins. Yeah, I got you. Eagle. Let's see. But yeah, no, please stop with the PFF grades. I've always been against. The first time I noticed the PFF grades were terrible was like they rated was it Dwight Lowry? Is it a safety or is he a corner? Who was like the Lowry or whatever we had? Was that Lowry, the safety from the Jags who came over and was the Jets safety? He was awful, and I remember PFF gave him a high grade. And then you see stuff like Lawrence Cager catch 2 wide open slide routes in a preseason game against the Giants. He's like a 90-something grade. It's like because he caught 2 wide open passes that anybody in this chat could have caught as long as they can catch a football. And he ran for 20 yards uncontested. Like that's what makes him a 90 overall. And then I've seen games of Q, and they rescinded this a couple of years ago, but like Q was dominant in a game. They gave him a low grade. Fans came at him and they're like, oh no, we reevaluate. It's a higher grade. It's like, yeah, because your people have no idea what they're talking about. So, Peter, how well did Maui Noah actually play? He played really good, which by the way, it's not Maui Goa. Apparently it's Maui Noah. That's based on, I don't know what podcast or whatever I heard that on, but it's Maui Noah. Yeah, he took a huge step in this game. Now, obviously, you have to stack them and stuff, and he can come back out next week and blow a coverage, and we'll be pissed. And it seems like the blown coverage with the Sauce touchdown, he was in that responsibility. He's supposed to match the 3. He's a little bit, and that's why I questioned it. Like, I'm like, now we know it's so late to match this 3. I don't know if Sherwood was supposed to match the 2. Apparently, he was. So that was, it might have been a bad play from him, but overall, like, you're talking about he had a very good game in run defense. So very happy with him. We'll see. And people were surprised like, he moves. And again, if you've been watching this channel and you watched the review, I said he moves very well. He's very strong for his size, and that's why I thought he'd have some like 5th man on the line type of responsibilities, like simulating a 3-4, because that's where that's Glenn's base. That's not his role so far. Obviously, he was thrusted into a starting linebacker role very early, so there's going to be some lumps, but moves well. He's a thumper, super aggressive. He struggled mightily in college in coverage, though, so that's the spot you have to worry about him. As a blitzer, all day, send him all day. I'm very comfortable with him setting an edge. I'm very comfortable with him blitzing. I'm relatively comfortable with him in the run game, even though like eye candy and stuff, at least in college, really, really tripped him up. But a huge step. Now we have to stack them, right? Like if he sucks the rest of the season, nobody's going to care about a week 6 performance. But What would have been so bad with taking Fields out at half? Glenn could have easily blamed the contusion and went back to Fields. And again, like what I said, like he doesn't own anything. I think Fields would go back and watch that film and be like, yeah, I sucked. Like I deserve to be benched in that game. Like you could always go back to him. It's, again, he hasn't earned anything in his career at this point. He hasn't. So if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. It's not like, oh, once we go to Tyrod, can never go back to Fields. Like I said, get him healthy. If you take away his superpower and he's not comfortable running because of a contusion, he should not be playing. That's the only way he's even close to as good of a quarterback as Tyrod, even though he obviously struggled in the Bucs game as well. But obviously generally over their careers, Tyrod's the much better passer. He just doesn't have the elite legs that Fields does. But if Fields doesn't have those legs, then what are we doing here? Like if Fields doesn't have, maybe this is crazy to say, but I'm really like thinking about it off the top of my head. If Fields didn't have his legs, like if he's just an average level athlete with his legs, he's not even a backup level quarterback. Really. He's a Zach Wilson, if not worse level quarterback, if he doesn't have his legs. He's not even a backup. And that's legit. I don't think I'd ever rescind that statement. The only thing that makes him okay or even a backup is the legs. So if he doesn't have that, what are we doing, dude? Side note, Brewers folding to the Dodgers again. It's embarrassing. Yeah, you got to root for whoever comes out with the Blue Jays and the Mariners, right? I don't even know who I'd want to win that though. Like Blue Jays, whoever wins that series, I want them to win the World Series. But you root for Toronto, like that's the Buffalo Bills team that they wish good luck against the Yankees, which just stamp this fact that they're a Canadian team, they're not a New York team. I don't want to root for a team from Canada necessarily, but also Seattle. Either one of them, I guess, over the Dodgers. I really don't know who I prefer. I guess Seattle. I'm not a big baseball guy. Like I can't tell you history and stuff like Mets. Yeah, sure. But how many, somebody will throw it in the chat. How many have the Mariners ever won a World Series? Have the Blue Jays ever won a World Series? I guess that might change my opinion. I'd say gun to my head without any knowledge, probably the Mariners, I guess, over the Toronto because they're not from the United States. But if the Mariners have a World Series and the Blue Jays don't, then Blue Jays, like I'm cool with teams who have never won. Like I'm obviously I'm a Mets Jets Nets fan. I root for the underdogs. I want those fans to experience happiness because I can't. So I'll live vicariously through them. Tyrod is 4-1 against Carolina. Why not start him? If Fields' injury is going to carry over, I would. I really would. Now, again, when were those 4-1? Like it's not like if he was 1-0 against the Panthers last year and they had the same team and the same staff, then that matters. But since he's played Carolina, coaches have changed, personnel has changed, his team has changed, so it doesn't really affect anything. Like that 4-1 is just transparently completely meaningless unless it was recent, but it hasn't been because he's been on the Jets for a year. And then Carolina just overhauled their staff and stuff, so that really has no effect on it. My thing is, if Fields is hurt, he's hurt. Play him. Great stuff. Appreciate you, Nick. I think Hurts and the Philly are exception to the rule. That's a good point, Billy. I actually appreciate that comment. I do, because they won a Super Bowl, but that's also you're talking about: an elite defense, an elite running game, an elite offensive line, a cheat code play where they're able to false start in the tush push. So it can happen. Like Trent Dilfer won with the Ravens, because the Ravens defense was historic. So like they're the outliers, though. Typically top 10, but the outliers are the Eagles, the Trent Dilfers, the Nick Foles in was that 2017 season? I think it was 2017, right? Yeah, because I remember because that was the Eagles-Patriots game, and I was going to the academy, and the first weekend they have you write the manual like 2 times by hand, and it's like 35 pages to write it word for word. And it was my birthday on the Super Bowl, and I was sitting at the table rewriting a handbook twice the entire day. It was awful. So I remember that Super Bowl, but it was 2017. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Wife texted me. I had to answer that one back. I was supposed to bring her up her some medication, some pregnancy medication type stuff. And she's like, where is it? Joe just flat out talking about how horrible they are with zero motion. This team broke. I'll be honest. I don't know if it's zero motion. The fact that like my sleep schedule is so jacked up that this is kind of my baseline where I'm just like whatever. But yeah, it's like I can't get angry anymore. I do during the game, but now on a Friday, Flores. I don't think it's the worst option. I just think they're I think everybody prefers offensive coach. Because the problem with defensive coaches, like again, let's say in a universe far away, the Jets actually, the team actually works out, and the offense is cooking. Does that coach then get hired to go somewhere else? Then you have the faith in the Jets picking an OC correctly for the second time. Probably not. So I prefer it to be an offensive guy. Now, if it's between like Flores and McCarthy, I'm probably Flores. If it's Flores over Gruden, Rex, Flores. I obviously, and I think all fans would heavily lean offense, but it depends on Flores over who. Who's the pool, who's willing to take interviews with the Jets. We interviewed Cliff. I think they interviewed Cliff when they interviewed Saleh, and don't quote me on this. I think they interviewed Cliff when they interviewed Saleh. I don't think they interviewed Cliff this last time, or did they? Let's see. I'm honestly not sure. Cliff Kingsbury interview Jets. Let's see if it pops up. All right, internet is Cliff Barry's reconsider. Yeah, so he interviewed in 2019. Okay, so he interviewed in 2019 when they hired Gase. When they hired Gase, and then it went to 2020. He got hired in 2020. Yeah, they didn't interview him this last cycle, and even the last one before that, at least via AI. I don't remember them interviewing him this time, but I would. Obviously, unless he denies it, like they call him, like, not for me, guy. I hope they don't fire Glenn's coaching staff. Oh my God, Kev! If they did that, I'm out, man. I am out. I not really, right? But like that'd be gross. To be fair, Muji has made some decent moves. He's had misses, but overall decent. Yeah, this is a longer form conversation. I've had quite a bit. I think people in general this offseason are kind of overly harsh on Muji. I went into free agency, and even after the free agency moves, I'm like, really? When you look at the pool, like go back and look at the free agency pool. The free agency pool this year sucked. And I said it from the jump. It's like, this pool sucks. Don't blow your load this offseason because obviously the Jets aren't going anywhere and the talent sucks. Save that money and roll it over into next year. So I think people like kind of have a revisionist history, like, oh, we didn't sign this guy, didn't sign that guy, and all this stuff. But I think the things you can be critical of, and I think most fans will be, and obviously, some of it's Glenn's decisions. Muji reports to him, but like not cutting Gibson, probably a Glenn decision. But in terms of like signings, not signing a D-end is a problem. I think most of us said, or most of us would say D-end, right? D-end depth, receiver depth, starting receiver, and tight end depth are the ones where like, what the hell? So I'll blame him from those, but past that, like Stevens, dude, the last couple of weeks, he got beat on 3rd and 3. He got caught peeking at the quarterback. That was a bad play. The last 3 weeks, Stevens has been what you've paid him to be. The last 3 weeks, Stevens has been a solid starting corner at number 2. He has been undeniable. People will, the people who hate him or whatever, like they don't even hate him. I think, and I said this plenty of times, Jets fans are kind of victim, or I think fans in general are victim to the first impression carries over and the new information doesn't affect their opinion. But the first couple of weeks, yeah, he was not good. The last 3 weeks, he's been completely fine at corner 2, and completely fine at corner 2 is worth $12 million a year. So at that point, at this point, or the last 3 weeks, it's been working out. Defensive line moves that he traded for, we wanted to make the moves earlier, but the trade for Phillips, good trade. The trade for Briggs, he forced a blown up run play this week. Good trade. Maui Noah, at this point, for a 5th round pick, he's flashed more than the typical 5th round pick. Even if it doesn't work out, and we'll see, obviously, but realistically, if a 5th round pick is on your team in 3 years, it's a hit. If he's a good special teamer, it's a hit. If he's a backup, it's a double. If he's a starter, it's a home run. So now we know at this point, I would say he's done more than what I've expected him to do in terms of the flashes. We'll see with AZ Thomas. Membu looks like a good right tackle. He's had a little bit more struggles recently, but he's a rookie. He's fine. Mason Taylor looks completely fine. Arian Smith is actually creating some separation. They just never throw it deep. He's been fine. Obviously, not a large sample size, but with even more time and a better quarterback and everything else. Barron has looked bad. He's a 5th round pick. Like those have what? 10-15% chance of working out if I had to put a number to it, probably. That's a problem with the draft people. It's not draft people, but who criticize drafts, like, oh, he missed on his 4th and 5th round picks. They're like 15-20% chances of working out, those picks, if that. I don't know what the actual statistics are and how you quantify what works out. Like, is working out a starter? Is it a backup? I think working out for a 5th round pick is him being a good special teamer or even being on the team in a couple of years. So you could be a dick, but not really when you're 0-6. I'm talking about Glenn, not me. I was like, what? Why am I being a dick? I'm just completely honest. I am not afraid to bite my tongue. I'll just say exactly what I'm thinking. So I thought you were talking about me, David, but okay, Glenn. Just win, dude. You could be a dick. You could be passive. You could be a nerd. You could be an idiot. Just win. Rex was an idiot, and he won. We all loved him. I will love anybody who wins for the Jets. And it's just so crazy to think that if Parcells and the Jets just told Manning that they would draft them 1, the Jets would have had Parcells and Manning, or Bill Belichick and Manning. Just by that little change could have changed the entire trajectory of the franchise. Really could have. We could have been like the Pats, but with Manning and Brady, even though Manning wasn't as good as Brady, but you win a Super Bowl or 2. Your thoughts on the Jets having a fire sale? Fires now, if you're talking about low-level players, fine, whoever. If they're going to trade, if they're going to, I don't know. If they're trading Cody Adams, I'm not considering that fire sale type stuff. I think when you talk about trades, the 3 guys I would look out for the most and who I would trade is Michael Carter II, if you can get something decent for him, Quincy Williams, and then Brees. I think those are the 3 guys who are watching out for. But when you say fire sale, I start to think Q and stuff like that. I'm not trading Q. I'm not trading Sauce. I'm not trading Garrett. I'm not trading any of the offensive linemen. If they can find a deal for MC2, fine. Even though with MC2, I'll be real, he's been injured, and that's been probably his biggest problem. Is just he hasn't been healthy the last few years. But I would like to see him get a little bit more time to prove that he's not good anymore, because he's been so good, so consistent for years that just a few bad games, I don't want to, I think people are jumping ship a little bit too early on him while also recognizing that he's been bad. Quincy, I don't think he fits next to Sherwood just on, having 2 linebackers who are very volatile. I don't love this fit. So you get rid of him because you paid Sherwood. So I would undoubtedly trade Quincy and Brees. Now, obviously, considering the package, if it's going to be hey, a 6th round pick for Brees, 5th round pick for Brees, then no, I'd rather just hold on to him. But 4th round pick for Brees, 4th for Quincy, or 5th and change for Quincy, you're not going to re-sign, fine. MC2, he's around the same. I agree. The trade. Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't mention the trade for Brownlee, who go watch the review tomorrow. He had some. There were some coverage reps that he was good to. I didn't include in the review just for sake of not making it, 3-hour long review. But dude, excellent in the run game. Could you have done any better, or could you have played that any better in terms of that screen? He blew up 2 blockers, spiked the difference of them, drove them, brought down the ball carrier. Had another really nice tackle, had another nice tackle for loss, I believe. Brownlee was excellent. Now there's a little bit of volatility with him in coverage. There's some jumpiness in press. There's some holdings. We'll see some of that as he plays more. Well, hopefully not, but I'm assuming we'll see more of it. So he'll have some down games, but the aggression and the way he plays in the box is very Jamal Adams-y. Prime Jamal Adams-y, just not in a bigger body as a slot corner can cover. You're not as powerful and stuff, but my God, his mindset is ridiculous. I love watching Brownlee play. Got to pick up the phone and at least listen. Yeah, you take a phone call on anybody. And that, when Joe Douglas said that about Jamal Adams, and Jamal Adams got all pissy, how? And obviously I'm being dramatic, but what if that person says, hey, we'll give you 4 first-round picks for Q? Obviously being very dramatic. Or 2 first-round picks for Q. Okay. All right. Now Q was traded. You have to pick up the phone. It doesn't hurt to listen to a guy. Okay. Light grenade. I'm still 40 minutes. Damn, I'm still catching up. Let me just do the offense. Fields awful. Fashanu. That one play, it looks like it was just a miscommunication on the run. That one sack he gave up was brutal. Just trying to get he needs to recognize when you have a 9 tech, you can't get into a 45-degree set. You just can't. You have to take vertical and you have to get out of your stance and create space. And he went 45, bailed, and then opened his hips up. That was just a terrible play by him. He wasn't good. Simpson's been a little bit more iffy than I would say the last season or the 2 seasons past. He's been okay. Myers had some struggles. Tippmann had some struggles. Membu had some. The offensive line was not great. They weren't terrible, but they were not great. Receivers, Garrett is Garrett. Obviously got blanked a little bit, but he should have had at least another 2, 3, 4 catches if Fields can just read a defense or read a speed out versus high leverage. So he should have done. He's playing Surtain. He should have had 4 or 5 catches for 50, 60 yards, which is fine versus Surtain instead of having 3 for 15 or whatever he had. He was fine. The 139 where Surtain broke it up on the sideline, he didn't break it up. I'll be real here. Garrett Wilson had 2 hands on the ball on 3rd and 9. It's a very difficult catch. A very good contested receiver makes that catch. He did not, but that's not Garrett Wilson's game, so I'm not going to overly criticize him for that. But the ball did hit him in both of his hands. He dropped it. Still a fine game from him. Tight ends weren't involved. I guess that's it for the offense. Just doing it quickly just before I forget. Right. Yeah. Can we also stop with the notion that no one will take this job? It's 1 of 32. We're going to have a high pick to take a quarterback. Yeah, like I said, and coaches aren't stupid, right? Like they'll go back and watch this season and be like, oh my God, like look at these decisions, look at the talent on the roster and look how bad it is. Like they're not dumb. Like they're gonna research a little bit. It's not just like, oh my God, Glenn was so great. They fired him after a 7-win season. It's like, no, we went 1-16. Yeah, they should have fired him. Like they're not idiots. And on top of that, I'll just emphasize what you said. Like it's 1 out of 32. It's a shit ton more money than if you're OC or a DC. You have the number 1 overall pick. You have a bunch of cap space, whatever it's going to be, 70, 80, 90 million dollars, whatever it is, with some dead money, but manageable. Dead money, 30-ish million, 40-ish million next year, manageable. You have cap, you have Sauce, you have Garrett, you have an offensive line, you have the number 1 overall pick. Like you might not attract the A+ candidates. Like let's say, and again, I don't think it's going to happen, but Harbaugh's fired. Maybe Harbaugh skips unless you give him generational money, which I would at that point. If Ben Johnson reincarnated was out there again, would he take it? Maybe not, even though I thought he thought his shit didn't stink. I didn't really love his personality, but nonetheless, if you win, who cares? They might not attract the A+ candidates, but everybody else, I think they would. Like it's all that stuff. Number 1 pick, offensive line, you got talent, you got an all-pro on the defensive line, you got an all-pro at corner, you got an all-pro Pro Bowler at receiver, you got a young offensive line with a bunch of studs on it, or at least a bunch of good players on it. So yeah. Wilkes had a good game. Yeah, he blitzed less, I believe, at least just by watching it. And again, I don't chart, but I think he had a better game. Just seeing this one real quick about we wanted Bill Parcells, but honestly, at best, we got Bill O'Brien. We're talking about like relatively, I don't know. Bill O'Brien was good for a few years. He's a good offensive mind, but he flamed out. Is 0-17? It's possible. It's never been done. Obviously, we just started playing 17 games the last 4 or 5 seasons, 3 or 4 seasons. Let's just say 4. It's never been done before. 0-16 has only happened once or twice in history. 0-16, Lions and Browns. Am I wrong there? I think it's twice with the Lions and Browns. Could be wrong. I don't think so. It's obviously possible, but I would put quite a bit of money the Jets win at least, 2, 3, 4 games. So we should have never moved off our boy Sammy Darnold. Yeah, like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, and it's just proof that hey, you can have an OC or you can have a head coach who can ruin a quarterback, and Gase did. Now there was plays that I remember specifically in that game there's a game against the Broncos where Becton got blamed for getting beat, but you had a dig wide open to the middle, and I showed that play all the time. But we're not there for the meetings. We're not there to it just a quarterback can ruin A coach can ruin a quarterback. Now, if they fired Gase, kept Darnold, and kept him with Saleh, I think we ruined him anyway. So I don't think he would have worked out here just based on who we hired after him. But in general, yes, I get the point. If we had good coaches, he would have worked out. Clearly. Very clearly. Can Woody Nolan void client? No. For being an asshole. Yeah, no, it's all guaranteed. And the part of the problem is I think he's playing solid this year and maybe even next year as well. So he's going to be paying 3 coaches at the same time, but he's a billionaire. Woody Johnson net worth. Well, okay, yeah. He's worth $3.9 billion. He could eat 50 and not even feel it. He wouldn't even flinch. His $50 million is my $50. Yeah, I would eat $50 if I don't think he's going to work out. Like, that's what it is. Think about it. Seriously. It's like me, even if I'm underestimating that, if I had to eat $200 to fire Glenn at the end of the year, if I didn't think he was going to work out with a new quarterback, I'm eating $200. Like, it's if he's worth 3.9 billion. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Net worth. Yeah. 3.9. Rob, I just looked it up. Otani. I'm obviously not seeing what's. I have a TV right here, but I'm not watching. They're up 3-0, right? They're gonna get there anyway. I don't really care. I just fuck LA. No way. Would you ever do a call-in show? I have in the past. Being real, I feel like I always am. One, I don't know how many people would call in, right? Like, I'm not sure if I'm the most call-in type of show. Like, I'm not very ESPN-y or WFAN-y. Like, I would like to be not super serious, but like, I don't know. One, how many people call in, and then two, and get, like, literally, like, tell me if you what you think, if you want to email me or tweet me or message me or whatever. But like, one, would people call in? Two, do people specifically on this show, we get a little bit more into the weeds. Do people want to hear people call in? Those are my 2 biggest questions. I don't know. It kind of depends on you guys both calling in, and then do fans of the show, or let me say fans of the show, that sounds kind of whatever. Do listeners of the show even want people to call in, or just for me to react to the chat and talk to Nanya and get, again, a little bit more into football stuff? Because you start the calls and it gets a little bit more wonky, I would say, at times. So, let me know. I don't know. I would consider it, of course. Maybe that's something I considered doing in the past. Like, once a month, I do a call-in show. The problem is, once a month you do a call-in show, you're not building up your, for lack of a better term, like your clientele, your callers. If you do it every day, every week, you get consistent callers, so it kind of flows it. Like, if I did it once a month, I'm gonna have one caller and then take a bust. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. Are you going to the game this week? On the fence. I'm leaning no. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Are you watching MLB play? I just talked about this before, Kev. I'm a Mets fan, but in this, who's ever had a worst? Actually, I guess the Mariners. If the Mariners have won a World Series and the Blue Jays haven't, then give me the Blue Jays. But I'm rooting against the Dodgers mostly, Mendoza and Kingsbury feel, yeah, dude, like, I'm fine with that. Like, I'm game. Now, obviously I have to watch Mendoza, I could watch Simpson and like him a lot better, but everything I've heard about Mendoza is like good processor, very accurate. And you're talking about quarterback traits. Those are probably my top 2: processing and accuracy, anticipation, pre-snap reading. So just mental, pre to post snap, anticipation, and accuracy. Give me all of those. Like, yeah, I would love the legs on top of it. I would love the strong arm on top of it. But give me a Chad Pennington. You can win a Super Bowl with Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington, 2025 Chad Pennington, you can. Yeah. So I bet the Titans regret running it back with Callahan. Yeah, no doubt. The Bears with Eberflus. I think like the last, I don't know exactly what the stat is. I don't know if Jake said or heard it on Twitter. But I think like the last 4 or 5 number 1 overall picks, they kept the coach from the year before, and then it flamed out. Look at Steve Wilkes or not Steve Wilkes. They actually made the right decision. They fired Wilkes and they got Murray, but yeah, it happens all the time. I've seen enough. Yeah, I'm almost there. I'm almost there, Kev, but we'll see. It's not Adam Gase. It's not just that Glenn looks bad. He looks completely in over his head and clueless. He can't do it. Yeah, nothing. The media, the roster decisions, him putting his own foot in his mouth, him going back on his words. In-game decisions have been awful. You know, wasting timeouts to punt the ball, going for it on fourth down with your base personnel, not faking out anybody to then just run out the clock, not even take a Hail Mary. Like, and if you can't trust your quarterback to not turn the ball over there, and you're like you have fear because of what happened with the Bucs, then he shouldn't be your quarterback. Or run the ball, at least like do something. Run out the clock. Come on, man. Plus a guy who's coaching for is probably better than a 50-50 to at least be competent. Unless they're Adam Gase. Some of the best head coaches are on the yeah, no doubt. They are. It's like, so I'm not opposed to it, depending on who it is, Mike. If it's a defensive guy, I lean offense for obvious reasons. We haven't seen many of them. And again, best case scenario, the offense is lighting it up with a defensive coach. That OC gets hired, and then you have to replace them. Really, the Jets, talking about the Lions now, look what John Morton's doing with the Lions. He's kept them flowing. John Morton was good with the Jets in 2017. He was good. That's Josh McCown offense with no talent scored points, you know? And then they got rid of him for, you know, fuck nuts from the mountains. And then it all went downhill from there. Was it Jeremy Bates was his name? All right. They fired Morton for no reason. Morton was good, dude. He really was. And I was on that from day one. Like, I don't know why they're firing this guy. He's putting up 34 points, 30 points, whatever it is in some games with Josh McCown and a bunch of scrubs. Minus Blau Powell. Blau Powell is one of my favorite running. He's probably my favorite Jets running back of all time. I'm not just like one of those guys who goes with the good guys. I would say, and obviously I'm more recent. Like, I'm more of a recent fan, like Curtis Martin and stuff. I was a little bit young for it, but I would say like, top of my head right now, like top three is Powell, Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory ran so freaking hard, dude. I love Chris Ivory. Powell, Chris Ivory, and Leon Washington. Got to be the top three. Powell might be one, though. He's so underappreciated, Powell. He's probably number one. Leon, 2. Ivory, 3. Right? 93, it kind of makes sense, right? I became a fan like 2000, 2001, 2, somewhere around there. 7, 8, 9 years old. But I watched, but I didn't know. And I don't know if I watched even every game, but probably became diehard like 05, 06, 07 type area. Being like, 13, 14, 15. He was like, okay, I'm watching every game, know what's going on. Yeah, Dwight Lowry. We had another Lowry who was a corner at once, right? I just don't understand the offensive player for the Jets to keep putting a pass catching. Yeah. All out blitz. He did not even see it. Are you talking about the 4th and 8? Are you talking about the 4th and 8 at the end? Hold on. Actually, give me 1 minute. I'm sorry, but I am dancing right now. Hold on. Okay, we're back. I had 2 options there. Actually, I had 3. Pause myself and take a piss. End the stream and take a piss, or piss on my floor. Those were the only 3. So I didn't want to end. So my fault for that minute. Rookie Tennant. Eagle, I think you're talking about the 4th and 8 at the end of the game to block an edge rusher. Did not enjoy that either. Ring Strand. On a panic meter, how worried are you with Olu from 1 to 10? He's still quite quasi a rookie because this is like his 12th start at left tackle. Uh, 3 or 4 seems like a good number. I remember one time Quinnen had a dominant game and Jets fans basically, yeah, I just said that before, Rob. Maybe, again, I don't know where I'm at, like if I already said this at 11:04 or if I didn't say this at 11:04, but yeah, literally bullied PFF. But if they were correct in what they do, they would say, no, this is the game he had. But, they just throw out and made up grades. Same here, root for underdogs, no doubt. No doubt. And then it goes into like geological stuff. Has that team won before? Does that area root for good teams? Like if you have a team like Midwest team who has like nothing going for them, I'm always gonna root for them. Versus like if you have a bad team, but it's in LA. LA has seen plenty of whatever. I don't care about it, So it's all kind of geographical, have teams in an area won before. That's usually how I root. It's not like a player on that team or I have a connection to that team somehow or whatever. But in general, with no other information, give me the underdog. Give me the team who hasn't won before. What do you think of Breece Hall's? Breece Hall is a receiver in a running back's body. That's what I think. Like he's very dramatic. I think he's been better this year. I think he's been good this year. I do think the offensive line is opening up a lot of the holes that he's been hitting, which is obviously you need that. But I think more of the production has been offensive line versus him. But I still think he's been a plus average running back. He doesn't. I don't think he's a leader that a Garrett Wilson is. That's for sure. And he's a little bit immature to me with the social media stuff. I don't always enjoy it. Not saying he's a bad dude because of it, but like you've been hearing about trade rumors all week and like, oh no, I want to be a Jet and all that stuff. But then the next week you put free 20. Like even if he did mean free 20 in the offense, how that most fans were gonna take that. Like, oh, he's asking to get out. So why post it? Like if they're gonna trade you, but that helps nobody. It helps nobody. In my opinion, the social media shit from all the players is immaturity. Just stay off social media. You're not winning with that. So. Pretty sure we at least requested to interview. Did we? I don't know. Honestly, don't know, David. Muji is Glenn's sidekick anyway. Yeah, he's. They said that he reports to Glenn. What has Cliff Kingsbury done to deserve this type of praise? And he's Jaden Daniels' development. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Even though Jaden Daniels has probably cooled off a little bit. Like I think at the end of his rookie year, like top 5 quarterback. I think now he's a top half. Maybe top 10. I haven't watched him enough to be like, oh yeah, he's definitely regressed. But there's not as much hype on Daniels, but. I don't think he's done a ton. I think his offenses were always decent with the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, who I don't think is the easiest quarterback to work with. A guy they put a clause in the contract to watch film, which doesn't help you in an NFL game. The Jaden Daniels stuff, I think at first I was very out on Kingsbury in terms of him coming out of college. Like he was at Texas Tech and then had like a bad season, like a 3 or 4 win season, got fired, and then was going to be a head coach in the NFL, or did he go from USC to Texas Tech, or did he go from Texas Tech to USC? Whatever it was, he wasn't overly successful in college. I remember in 2019 we interviewed him. Like, why? Based on his track record, why are we interviewing this guy? I think at the NFL level, he proved a little bit more. He may be a little bit overrated, but the development of him, I don't think he did a bad job with Kyler Murray. He's an offensive guy. And the thing is, like when you fail the first time, you make your mistakes and you learn from them. Like I think that's a big part of being a head coach. Like plenty of guys have failed the first time and now it's working out. Dan Quinn's a good example with them. It happens. Bill Belichick flamed out the first time with the Browns and one of the better coaches of all time. Even if he had Brady, if he didn't have Brady, what would he be? But still. Yeah. Okay. So you literally see this a couple minutes after. Yeah. Kyler Murray, who doesn't even watch film. What about JJ? Keep or listen to trade deals? No, I'm not. Now, obviously, like living in the world of reality, I guess. You're not going to get blown away for a trade by him because he's been injured and stuff. So what is the team going to offer? A 4th or 5th round draft pick for him? You have him under control for this year. You have him under control from next year. He made a big difference in the defense. You saw him get that near sack. He also that play where I put it up on you'll see it on the short review tomorrow if you want to watch it, but there's a play they do. Is it an end around? I think it was an end around. And instead of diving inside like Clemens would have or Barron would have, he stays on the outside. If he didn't stay on the outside, the receiver had an easy lane up the alley for probably 15, 20 yards, if not bigger. But JJ, because he played it well, makes him bubble to the outside, and then Sherwood's able to come in pursuit over the top and make a tackle for like 5 or 6 yards. So if that was JJ versus Clemens, you're talking about probably another plus 14, 15 yards with Clemens in the game. So he makes an impact. He's a leader too. Like, he's the type of guy you want his mindset. You want his mindset. You want Garrett's mindset. Sauce, he's been a little bit. I think he could be a better leader. I think he's a good player, but I think he needs to be a little bit better of a leader and not be so quick to pass blame on guys. And maybe that's why he didn't get the C on his chest like Garrett did. But like specifically in terms of like the leaders, like the aggression that I think Glenn wants, it's guys like JJ, it's Garrett Wilson, and even like the new guys like Brownlee. Like Brownlee's the type of physical, guy you want to kind of establish that culture, like that aggressive mindset I think Glenn wants. So yeah, you keep JJ both now and probably long term. You keep him. Obviously, again, you have to make the kind of like, if he wants $20 million, $25 million a year, then no. But expecting that he's reasonable, then yes, you keep him. Marcus, what's up, dude? Late to the video, go back and rewind. Thanks for the videos, love the content. Appreciate that, Marcus. I wonder if you have a different I hate this new shit, all the freaking new names, but thank you. Having a call-in show would great if we at least had one win. Yeah, right. Like, is everybody saying the same stuff? Again, it's just I don't know if this is the most call-in type of show, but if you guys want it, I would try it. I would definitely try it once. I'll try it. I'll get one call and I'll never do it again. So do you think the Jets will get the first overall pick? I think they have to watch the Saints and the Titans. Yeah, like based on me, maybe just my scars from being a Jets fan, I think the Jets finish with like 3 or 4. Just because I expect them to win 3 or 4 games, with 2 or 3 of those probably being in the last month of the season, and bringing up some like false hope in the fan base and the coaching staff. They end up picking 3. They pick the second or third best quarterback. He doesn't work out. They fire the head coach after year 1. They bring in a new guy. Doesn't work out. They get rid of the quarterback, and then he's successful in 2030. Like, that's just my natural reaction. That's what happens to the Jets. But yeah. I think they pick top 3 to 5 at the minimum. But number 1, like right now, bet my life on 1 or lower. I'm going to say they pick like 2 or 3 or 4 and not 1, just because we want them to pick 1 at this point, kind of. Thomas Jones was awesome, but just short-lived. And I don't know why they got rid of Thomas. Like, I get they got Sean Green and LT, but Thomas Jones was still a good player, and they got rid of him. Like, I would have kept Tom. They got rid of him in 2010, right? Because it was Thomas and 9, right? Thomas and 9, and then LT and Green and 10. I would have rather had Thomas and 10 over either one of Sean Green or LT. LT was fine, but he wasn't Thomas Jones. Do you think AG explained to Woody how it took 3 years in Detroit to turn around and Woody is in on it? I don't know if Woody Johnson's an idiot, maybe, but like, he's going to go by fans. He has the pulse of the fan base. People start booing at the games and not showing up to the games and stuff. Like the games like versus the Cowboys, he's not going to feel the effect. The games versus obviously the Steelers, there's a home opener. You're going to get, people there, but the games versus the Falcons, versus the Panthers, versus the Browns, because you don't have the crazy travel of the opposing fan base, and Jets fans aren't going to fill the stadium. What is the stadium, like 82,000 people? When it starts being 50, 60,000 people and it's mostly other colors, he'll feel it. He'll see the boos, the brown bags. He'll hear it on Twitter. So I don't think he'll buy into 3 years if they just don't. 2 years max. I think if it's this bad, I could see him keeping him for this year. That's, in my opinion, which would be a mistake if it continues like this. Not saying fire him now. Gotta preface that. But I don't think he's in on it. I don't think Woody's that stupid. Or piss in a bottle. Would have been weird. I could have muted myself and pissed in a bottle. But I have a coffee cup, which then I don't have to throw out. And then I have a souvenir Devil's Cup, which I don't have to throw out. I didn't pre-plan the piss. So my bad. Okay, let's see. Almost to the end. And then defense, let's see. Q, not the biggest impact. A few nice plays. Will McDonald, a little bit more quiet. JJ good. Clemens good. Briggs had a nice play. Phillips was all right. Didn't really pay attention to him a ton. Sherwood, I don't care what people say. Tackles, whatever. He didn't have a good game. Maui Noah, obviously great. Cisco missed a bad tackle. Malachi Moore, I didn't notice him a ton, which for a safety is a positive. If I went back and watched him, obviously, like watch him individually, I'd obviously have more of an opinion, but you just watch the whole play and you kind of go back and watch players too. But Moore didn't stand out. And as a safety, that's a good thing. Sauce was good. Sauce was that one play where JJ sacked Nix. Sauce blanketed Sutton on 3rd and 9. Stevens was fine, minus getting beat on 3rd and 3. He cheated. His eyes were into the inside and man coverage, and you can't do that. Got toasted on a slant. And Brownlee was excellent. And then McNamara. I'm not going to say he's the best punter in the NFL because it's been a short sample size, but based on numbers, however you quantify that stuff with punters, I think he's probably the best, if not top 3. He's been ridiculously good. Kind of said this before, David. What are your thoughts on Simpson this season? Talk about John Simpson. I think he's been a little bit more up and down. He got beat badly this game. He got bull rushed. He gives up his chest way too often in pass protection. So I would say he's probably worse than he's been in year 1 and year 2. I think he's been an okay starter at left guard. I think that's fair to say. He's been okay. I think the other seasons he was above average to solid. Again, however you quantify those words, solid. Is solid 8 to 12 and above average is 13 to 15. I don't know. Like, yeah, sure. I guess we can phrase it like that. I think this year he's been average, 16th best left guard, something like that. Bring on 2030. Fire Glenn. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's another name. Stefanski too, from the Browns. If he gets fired, another name you would look out for. Was it Saltz's fault on the TD? Okay, so if you watch my video on it, I explained exactly why it could be Saltz's fault, and I also explained depending on the exact type of quarters coverage they were running, it could have been Sherwood's fault. Sauce's brother on Twitter defended him and said it was Sherwood's fault without actually saying it was Sherwood's fault, but he said it wasn't Sauce's fault. So yeah, that's coming from Sauce. So I'm going to say it was Sherwood's fault. Again, it completely depends if it's like a cut, like a quarter, like a meg quarters, or just like a base quarters where the middle linebacker had to match the 3, and then Sherwood had to pick the 2, which it seems like it was. So it was Sherwood's fault. Dan Orlovsky's a brute. Yeah, dude. And I just put up a tweet. It was like the power trio of Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, who I don't want anybody to get fired necessarily, but if I could pick one person to not still be talking and have a voice, it's probably Ryan Clark, because I think he's super just ignorant and like a race baiter. Not to be that guy, but he is. I really dislike Ryan Clark. He's so fucking annoying. But yeah, it was them two and Stephen A. Smith on a panel. I was like, why? Like, what are we doing here? Dan Orlovsky, like, he knows what to talk about with football stuff, but like, he's not always the most informed about like situations and stuff. Like, oh, Garrett Wilson's ruined. It's been 5 or 6 years. It's been 4. We just signed him. I'm not getting rid of him. And then I love Garrett Wilson for coming back out on Instagram and saying never wasted, because Orlovsky quite literally said he's being wasted. Garrett Wilson 1000% heard that and on Instagram, but never wasted. And like with him in like a bunch of Jets pictures. So Garrett Wilson is the best type of leader, you can have on this team right now. It's just fantastic. I love Folk, but I think about how dumb it is the roster wise. I have a kicker with a weaker leg at his age. Yeah, but he made a 58-yarder. It's not like he's only hitting 40s. Like, he had a 58-yard field goal. And again, you could doctor the balls this year. So, and he was dead on that 58-yard field goal and probably had 5 or 6 yards of room there. So, like, yeah, if he was only hitting 40s, and I get it, but he's been money from everywhere. You're talking about the last 2 years. He's the most accurate kicker in the NFL. Even carrying into this year, he hasn't missed a field goal. He's the most accurate kicker in the NFL the last 3 years. Yeah. A little behind the chat or the show. You're going to run into this, and I don't know where you are, but I said this already. I said this about 20, 30 minutes ago. Stephen A is by far the worst. Yeah. Yeah, but I hate Clark, dude. I just hate him. The way he talks to people, like, "Oh, you don't know ball if you didn't play it," and again, the race baiting stuff is brutal. I genuinely dislike pretty much everything about who Ryan Clark is. He came at he come at Robert Griffin because he's a white wife. He came at him like, "Oh, you don't understand" or whatever. Like you're supposed to be with a black. Like what? Really? That was embarrassing. The whole thing with Robert Griffin was embarrassing. He embarrassed himself consistently. Clark had to apologize like 3 times in the past months for staying. I think he genuinely, I think he's kind of just a piece of shit. I do. Sorry. Arlovsky suggesting the Steelers to call the Jets about Garrett Wilson. I'm realizing, yeah. I think if Rodgers here, Garrett might not be here. Like Garrett did not enjoy his time with Rodgers. Sorry, I'm not sorry to say that stuff about Clark. I'm not. He's any free agent quarterback. They eat money though. Like I think at that point you just keep Fields as a backup. Like he's a solid backup. Obviously, if he's healthy, so I don't think you get rid of him to then sign a quarterback and pay him to not be on the team. Like he got paid $30 million over 2 years. I think he's owed, $10 million, whatever it is next year. Like let's see, Justin Fields contract OTC. So next year, if they were to, he's a $23 million cap hit next year. His cap hit this year is only $8 million. So if you cut him next year, you owe him $22 million to not be on the team. Post June 1st, it would be, you'd save 10 and cut to, you'd be eating, even if it's post June, if you designated a post June 1st cut, you're paying him $13 million to not be on the team. So you just keep him. Clark was also super rude to Peter Shager on the broadcast. That's the point. That's exactly, that's not the point. That's exactly what I was thinking of when he was basically saying like, "Oh, you haven't played football. You don't know what you're talking about." And Peter Shager like went back at him like, "What are you talking about, dude?" Like he's such a narcissist, Clark. I know it's early, but are there any franchise quarterbacks at the top? Adam Gase. I don't know Adam Gase. I got to watch them. I'm not one of those guys to just say, "Oh, this is yes or no." Because I've heard other people's opinions. I have to sit down and watch them, like legitimately watch them to know. So on top of everything else, it's frustrating as hell listening to Jets fans say we should have kept Rodgers. I understand why fans say that. They still shouldn't have kept him. They win maybe another game or two with him this season. But the situation with Garrett, I get it, not trying to establish a culture, all that stuff, with Glenn, even with Rodgers playing decent this year, I'm not going to say he's great. He's been decent this year. It was still the right decision to not keep him, in my opinion. Because then you also have to consider Devontae Adams is also on the roster for $30 million, Rodgers money. And then you also have to consider Garrett Wilson. Then you also have to consider the coach is going to undoubtedly, Glenn and his personality would have bashed Hedges Rodgers. So there's a reason ESPN's ratings are terrible now. David, when I'm telling you, like legitimately, so every single day when I was a kid, it was one of two things. It was bowl of cereal in bed before school, and it was ESPN or it was Fairly Odd Parents. Like I specifically remember that. And ESPN used to be great, dude. Like a little ticker on the side and like the top 10 and then this and that. And they actually talked about sports. And now it's all the other ancillary bullshit and hot topic-y type argument shit. And it's awful. I haven't watched ESPN, like an actual ESPN show in legitimately probably 15 years. Seriously, I don't watch any of it. Even NFL Network, I don't really watch. I don't watch any of that stuff. I rather listen to guys who know what they're talking about with football. Than like, why do I care about Michael K's opinion about Justin Fields when I know he doesn't know shit about football? I'm not that person. Certain people like that stuff. I can't do it. Or Francesca or any, I literally couldn't care less. So, I don't watch any of that stuff. I rather listen to like a comedy podcast or a podcast about history, like Dan Carlin or like something like that, than listen to WFAN. I didn't know. I'm about 10 years younger than you, and before school, I'd always watch SportsCenter growing up. Also, yeah, dude, little ticker, bowl cereal, Captain Crunch. Top 10. Actually talked about sports, hockey highlights, baseball highlights. Now it's all just like topic-y crap. I don't care about your opinions. Show me the sports. Show me the highlights. Used to go to sleep watching SportsCenter and then wake up and watch it again. Yeah. And like the sick days where you'd watch it and like, oh my God, this is the third time I've seen these highlights, But now it's just gross. Legitimately, it's gross. But it is what it is. I think I'm good. If you guys, I'm about to jump off. So obviously, if you had questions, you'd probably throw them in by now. But I appreciate everybody. Jorby31 on Twitter. I put up probably 20 to 40 plays every week on like Tuesday or Wednesday. Might change a little bit when my work schedule changes. I might have to push them back to like Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the week and how busy I am. To watch the full videos, it's $3 a month. $3 a month to watch the entire breakdown where I get into the questions you have, like Peter had about Sherwood or Sauce. You'll hear me talk about that, and Brownlee and JJ and all these plays. For the website, it's $5 a month, get all the other stuff. But I appreciate you guys. Hopefully it's talking about a win next week. We'll see. Probably not based on our history. But again,